In the Shadows of Greatness, a biography of Abraham Lincoln. Embark on an intimate exploration of Abraham Lincoln's life in the Shadows of Greatness. This biography unveils the obscured facets of the iconic leader, transcending the familiar narratives to reveal the nuanced humanity and profound complexities that shaped the 16th president's enduring legacy. 1. Abraham Lincoln's childhood. On February 12, 1809, a kid named Abraham Lincoln was born in the peaceful seclusion of Hardin County, Kentucky. Nancy and Thomas Lincoln, his parents, were modest people who shared a one-room log home. Young Abraham, affectionately known as Abe, was taught the value of perseverance at a young age. Lincoln's formal education was restricted to 3 short stints in local schools after his family relocated to southern Indiana in 1816 because he had to labor non-stop to support his family. Lincoln had an unquenchable curiosity despite his struggles. He would frequently be found reading by the fireside, making the most of the information in the few books he owned. Following his family's relocation to Macon County in southern Illinois in 1830, Lincoln secured employment as a river flatboat driver, transporting cargo from the Mississippi River to New Orleans. With this, his youth came to an end, and he started his quest to becoming one of the most significant individuals in American history. 2. Abraham Lincoln's early life. Abraham Lincoln's life as a young man was characterized by perseverance and hard effort. In 1816, Lincoln's family relocated to southern Indiana, where he attended neighborhood schools to complete his education. He was devoted to study and an avid reader despite the little opportunities. The Lincolns relocated to southern Illinois' Macon County around 1830. Here, Lincoln was hired to move freight down the Mississippi River to New Orleans in a river flatboat. Although the job was difficult, Lincoln was more so. Following his arrival in the Illinois village of New Salem, Lincoln started to establish his reputation. He held jobs as a postal and a merchant before the community noticed him because of his honesty and charm. Lincoln got involved in local politics as a Whig Party supporter and was elected to the Illinois State Assembly in 1834. Lincoln, though, had higher goals in mind. After studying law on his own, he passed the bar exam in 1836. He relocated to Springfield, the newly designated state capital, the following year. His incredible life had only begun when he moved from a modest log cabin to the state capital. 3. Abraham Lincoln's political career. The Illinois state legislature was where Abraham Lincoln's political career got its start. He was elected to the legislature in 1834 as a Whig Party member, and he soon established a solid reputation for honesty and dedication to public service. While vying for the U.S. Senate in 1858, Lincoln made a name for himself across the country during the well-known Lincoln-Douglas debates. Despite Douglas's victory in the election, he gained national recognition, and his future political career was impacted by these arguments. Lincoln won the Republican Party's presidential candidacy in 1860. Though he was hardly known outside of Illinois, the country had taken notice of his discussions with Douglas. On March 4, 1861, Abraham Lincoln took office as the 16th President of the United States. Several southern states seceded under his presidency, and the Civil War broke out. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, issued in 1862 while he was president, said that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were to be freed. As a result, the conflict was now being fought for human freedom rather than to maintain the Union. 4. Abraham Lincoln's family. Abraham Lincoln first made the acquaintance of Mary Todd, a wealthy Kentucky belle with numerous admirers in the thriving city of Springfield, Illinois. They had different upbringings, but they nonetheless fell in love and were joined in marriage in 1842. 4 children were born to the Lincolns: Robert, Edward, Willie, and Thomas, also called Tad. Lincoln was a loving husband and father, and the family was close-knit. The family suffered tragedy when Tad, Willie, and Edward passed away at an early age, leaving Robert as the lone kid to grow up. Lincoln and Mary were severely touched by these losses. Lincoln found comfort in his family despite the hardships of the Civil War and his own personal sorrows. His deeds and correspondence demonstrated his abiding affection for his family. 5. Abraham Lincoln's presidency. On March 4, 1861, Abraham Lincoln took office as the 16th President of the United States. His administration started with a divided country. Shortly after his inauguration, numerous southern states withdrew from the Union, putting the nation on the verge of civil war. Lincoln did not waver in his resolve to keep the Union intact in the face of the impending peril. Lincoln encountered unheard-of difficulties while in office. He had to handle political resistance within his own cabinet in addition to navigating the intricacies of war. He did, however, lead with insight and a strong dedication to justice. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, stating that all slaves in territory controlled by the Confederacy were to be freed. This was a daring move that altered the direction of the war and the country. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, which he gave in 1863, was a succinct but impactful address that summed up the American struggle and served as justification for the Civil War. Even now, we can still hear him say, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." In 1864, Lincoln was re-elected, and in his inaugural speech, he advocated for harmony and peace. Lincoln's attention turned from waging the Civil War to healing the country and reconstructing the South. 6. Abraham Lincoln's achievements. A notable accomplishment of Abraham Lincoln was the Emancipation Proclamation. It was issued in 1862 and said that all slaves in area controlled by the Confederacy were to be freed. This was a big step in the direction of ending slavery. One of the most well-known addresses in American history, the Gettysburg Address, was given by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. He was able to sum up the American struggle and the impetus behind the Civil War in a few minutes. Even now, we can still hear him say, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." The 13th Amendment, which formally outlawed slavery in the United States, was ratified with Lincoln's assistance. This historic accomplishment was made possible by his perseverance and leadership. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War was demonstrated by his re-election in 1864. His second inauguration address, which emphasized peace and harmony, is regarded as one of the most inspirational addresses in American history. 7. Abraham Lincoln's assassination. The evening of April 14, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln was at Ford's Theatre in Washington, D.C., attending a special performance of the comedy Our American Cousin. In a terrible turn of events, prominent stage actor and Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln in the head. After breaking inside the presidential box, Booth shot Lincoln once in the head. The president was transported to the Peterson House across the street. The physicians did their best, but Lincoln passed away at 7:22 a.m. the next morning. With his passing, a disastrous administration that had guided the nation through one of its most turbulent times came to a close. The nation was shocked by Lincoln's assassination. He was the first American president assassinated, and a protracted period of national sorrow ensued after his passing. After a 12-day pursuit, Booth was assassinated, even though he was able to flee the theatre. Later on, a number of his fellow conspirators were executed by hanging for their participation in the plot. 8. Abraham Lincoln's legacy. One of the longest-lasting legacies in American history is that of Abraham Lincoln. His status as one of the greatest presidents in American history has been solidified by his leadership throughout the Civil War, his dedication to the abolition of slavery, and his powerful speeches. One important step toward the eradication of slavery was Lincoln's 1862 Emancipation Proclamation. It altered the trajectory of the American Civil War and prepared the way for the 13th Amendment, which outlawed slavery in the country. The Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln is regarded as one of the best speeches in American history. He was able to sum up the American struggle and the impetus for the Civil War in a few minutes. Even now, we can still hear him say, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." Lincoln's picture may still be found on the Lincoln cent and the US $5 note, demonstrating his lasting influence. Scholars and students alike study his life and accomplishments, and leaders everywhere are still motivated by his leadership. Lincoln's leadership and the ideals he upheld are commemorated by sculptures and memorials located around the country. Millions of people are still inspired by his tale of rising from modest origins to the nation's highest position.